Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. Zoro has always been one of the most complex and fascinating characters in the One Piece universe, especially because of his deep connection with his swords. Since the beginning of his journey, each blade he wielded has carried with it a story, a purpose, and perhaps a secret that has yet to be fully revealed. I believe this connection between Zoro and his swords goes beyond the simple act of fighting. It's almost as if each sword has a soul, and he in some way becomes the vessel to manifest that soul in battle. Among them, the legendary swords Zoro carries hold mysteries that may, perhaps, be revealed more clearly as the story progresses. In chapter 955, we learn about the exchange of Shusui for Enma, one of the legendary Wazamono grade swords, which has the ability to drain its wielder's haki. This exchange was a pivotal moment, showing that Zoro not only accepts challenges, but also seeks to push his limits. I think the fact that Enma is one of the swords that wounded Kaido indicates the level of power Zoro could reach by mastering it. And perhaps this is just the beginning of his journey toward creating or obtaining a supreme grade sword, the Saiju o Wazamono. The history of the legendary swords in One Piece is shrouded in mystery. Chapters like 96, where we are first introduced to the Sandai Kaitetsu, show how Zoro has a fascination with cursed blades. He even tests his luck by throwing the sword into the air, something that could have cost him his hand. This scene has always made me think that Zoro doesn't fear these curses. In fact, he sees them as a test of his willpower. Perhaps in the future, we'll discover that Zoro's relationship with cursed swords has a deeper meaning, one that connects his determination to become the greatest swordsman with the very essence of these blades. The Thriller Bark arc, especially in chapter 467, gave us an interesting clue about the role of swords in Zoro's story. When he receives the attack from Kuma to save Luffy, we see how unshakable his determination is. I think this moment symbolizes Zoro's connection to the concept of bearing burdens, something that also reflects in the swords he chooses. Perhaps this is a hint that the supreme sword he will one day wield will be one that embodies this idea of sacrifice and unbreakable strength. Zoro's relationship with Mihawk is also central to understanding his journey as a swordsman. In chapter 51, we are introduced to the greatest swordsman in the world, and Zoro makes his promise to surpass him. I think this promise is not just about physical strength, but also about mastering swords completely. Mihawk wields Yoru, one of the 12 supreme grade swords, and it's hard not to imagine that Zoro will need a sword of that caliber to truly surpass him. Perhaps, in the future, Zoro may even create his own supreme sword, something that combines his haki, his strength, and the essence of everything he's learned on his journey. The idea of creating or transforming a sword into a supreme blade is not so absurd when we consider what was said in chapter 955 about swords absorbing the haki of their wielders over time. Enma, for example, is already on the path to becoming a supreme sword thanks to Zoro's haki. I think this theory gains strength when we remember that Zoro possesses a haki so powerful that he was able to split a mountain during his fight against Pika in chapter 778. If Zoro continues channeling his haki into Enma, perhaps it could, who knows, evolve into a supreme blade. Additionally, Zoro's role in the final battle is something that cannot be underestimated. He is undoubtedly one of the pillars of Luffy's crew and will be essential in the decisive moments of the story. I think the new sword that Zoro will eventually obtain or transform will be crucial for facing adversaries like the Gorosei or even Imu, should the need arise. This sword will not just be a combat tool, but also a symbol of Zoro's growth and his connection to the legendary swordsman who came before him. Cursed swords also play an interesting role in this story. The Sandai Kaitetsu is just one of many cursed blades in the world of One Piece, but its presence in Zoro's collection seems to indicate something deeper. I think these cursed swords, with their stories of tragedy and power, reflect Zoro's own path, full of challenges and sacrifices. Perhaps in the future, we might find that Zoro is, in some way, capable of purifying or transforming these curses into something positive, using his willpower and haki as catalysts. One theory that has always fascinated me is the possibility of Zoro having a deeper connection with Ryuma, the legendary samurai from Wano. In chapter 937, we learn that Ryuma wielded Shusui and was considered a hero in Wano. I believe that Zoro, by returning Shusui and accepting Enma, is, in a way, continuing Ryuma's legacy. Perhaps this legacy includes the creation or acquisition of a supreme sword that symbolizes the union between the past and future of Wano. It is also impossible to talk about Zoro and his swords without mentioning his unwavering determination. From the moment he promises Kuena that he will be the greatest swordsman in the world in chapter 5, to his more recent battles, we see how he never gives up, no matter the challenge. I believe that this determination will be what leads him to uncover the final secret behind his supreme sword, whether it's Enma or another one he may find or create. Perhaps when Zoro finally achieves this goal, we will not only see the peak of his skill as a swordsman, but also a new dimension of his connection with swords in the world around him. Building on what was discussed earlier, it is now important to consider the fate of Enma and the potential it has to become a supreme grade sword. Enma already stands out for its uniqueness and the level of challenge it imposes on any swordsman who wields it. Chapter 955, for example, presents the moment when Zoro receives Enma, and the impact it has on him is evident from the very first instant. Unlike other swords Zoro has used in the past, Enma demands a level of control and spiritual strength that surpasses everything we've seen. I believe this sword was created not only to be wielded, but to shape its wielder, forcing him to evolve constantly. Enma is described as one of the Owazamono grade swords, but it has not yet achieved the status of a black blade. The manga shows us through Ryuma and his sword Shusui that a blade can change its classification when it becomes black. In chapter 937, we are told that turning a blade black is an accomplishment that only the greatest swordsman can achieve. This raises the possibility that Zoro, by fully mastering Enma and transforming it into a black blade, could elevate it to the supreme level. Perhaps this is the final fate of Enma and the ultimate test for Zoro as a swordsman. The process of turning a blade black is shrouded in mystery, but we know it involves more than just technical skill. I think it requires a deep connection between the swordsman and the sword, as well as complete control over one's own haki. On several occasions, we have seen Zoro use his armament haki to enhance his swords. But Enma is special because it demands that he maintain a constant balance between giving and withholding his energy. In chapter 1033, we see Zoro begin to better understand this relationship as he faces King. He realizes that he can't simply impose his will on Enma. He needs to work in harmony with it. Perhaps this is the key to turning Enma into a black blade and consequently into a supreme grade sword. Zoro's relationship with Enma is also interesting because it reflects the path he is taking to surpass Mihawk. In chapter 52, Mihawk defeats him using only a dagger, highlighting the disparity between the two at the time. Since then, Zoro has sought not only to match, but to surpass his master. I think transforming Enma into a black blade would be the ultimate symbol that Zoro has achieved this goal. After all, Mihawk is known for wielding Yoru, one of the few supreme grade swords which is already a black blade. If Zoro can do the same with Enma, he will not only prove that he is on par with Mihawk, but also show that he is worthy of the title of the world's greatest swordsman. Another point to consider is the role of Enma in the final battle of One Piece. We know that Zoro will have a crucial role in that moment, and his swords will be essential tools. I think that once transformed into a black blade, Enma will be pivotal in facing the most powerful enemies Zoro will encounter. Perhaps it will be the key to defeating an opponent with such extraordinary abilities that only a supreme grade sword could cut through. This possibility not only reinforces the importance of Enma, but also highlights the need for Zoro to reach this next level in his journey as a swordsman. There is also the issue of the curse associated with certain swords that Zoro uses. Enma is not explicitly described as cursed, but its unique behavior makes it comparable to swords like Sandai Kitetsu. In chapter 1010, we see Zoro use Enma so intensely that it seems on the verge of draining all his energy. I think this suggests that there is more to Enma than just its ability to drain haki. Perhaps the transformation of Enma into a black blade also involves dealing with some kind of energy or will that resides within it. This could align with the concept of cursed swords, which seem to have a personality of their own and require an exceptional level of strength and determination to be mastered. Finally, it is worth mentioning the symbolism of Zoro turning Enma into a black blade. Throughout his journey, Zoro has always sought to become stronger, not just for himself, but to honor the people he believes are important. Enma was created from a tree that only grows in Wano, and its connection to Odin makes it a symbol of the legacy of that country. I believe that by turning Enma into a black blade, Zoro will not only reach a new level as a swordsman, but also honor this legacy in a way that only he could. Perhaps in the end, this will be the true meaning of Zoro wielding Enma, not only using it as a weapon, but transforming it into something that transcends its original purpose. The future of Zoro and Enma is still uncertain, but it is undeniable that this sword plays a fundamental role in his journey. I believe that by exploring the potential of Enma and the possibility of it becoming a black blade, we are witnessing not just Zoro's growth as a swordsman, but also as a character. Perhaps this will be the moment when he finally reveals the last secret behind his supreme sword and solidifies his place as the greatest swordsman of all time. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.